Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Walter Hooper, owner of WA Hooper Social Media Management. And as you can see, I am joined today by, once again, for the third time in a row, they say three's a charm, right? The one and only Crystal Pekarik of Crystal's Cubicle. And Crystal, thanks again for, well, you're pretty much a regular at this point. So I should just let you do your own intros at this point. Be like, yeah, this is Crystal. Crystal, go ahead. Tell them what you do.
No, come on now.
As some of you know, Crystal and I, we've formed a very wonderful partnership and collaboration. I've also recently, through Crystal, have been able to secure a recent video editing job, which is I'm excited for. I'm really looking forward to that. So we've been corresponding about that. And of course, Crystal helped set up my chatbots, and she is a chatbot expert, chatbot guru. If you don't know what that is, well, we could talk a little bit about that, kind of refresh your memory on what that is and what that entails and what it means for your business. Um, so again, what's up, Crystal? Good to see you as always.
Yes, thanks for having me back again. It's always fun when we get to have our little chats.
I know, I love it. It's just like we just kind of just hang out virtually. Soon we'll be hanging out in
Yeah.
person. Soon. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Couple more
That's
weeks.
a couple more
Couple more
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah, we'll be back in person. Um, but one of the things I wanted to touch on here a little bit, because I've noticed that you've been posting a lot about this, and I think this is something that I think it's important for people to know, not only just because it's good to know, but it's also it helps people understand how they can target their audience. And so I noticed that you've been doing some demographics type postings and demographic info tips. And as far as each platform on social media goes, each one's very different. Facebook's demographic is going to be a little different than Instagram, and Instagram's demographic is going to be different than Twitter and different than LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. So with what you've been doing so far, and even with how well, both of us have really been catering to our audience, what have you noticed about, we'll start with the Facebook demographic. What do you notice the most about Facebook's demographics of what you've been able to see and analyze so far?
Well, Facebook in general, you get the most crossover, I think, because they've been around the longest. And so
Mm-hmm.
they're still kind of like the old tried and true. Everybody relies on them. Everyone heads there. So you get a lot more, you get a bigger mix for sure of age, of types of businesses, of everything than you're going to find on like LinkedIn or Instagram. And there are others. I mean, for me, I don't deal as much with Pinterest or Twitter or that type of thing. But for those big three, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, you definitely get the most crossover on Facebook. You'll see a whole host of different things that you won't really find that sort of diversity on the other two.
Right, right. Another thing I noticed too is that, especially if you include your audience on things, if you ask them a question like, "Hey, what are some practices that you do for your business?" Or even like something fun like, "Hey, who's excited? Well, Memorial Day was a few weeks ago, but like, what's everyone's Memorial Day plans? What do you got? What's in the books for you?" That's a way to get the audience more engaged and get them like actually participating in what you're doing, and rather than just reading something like, "Oh, okay, that's neat." Now you're actually including them in in your posts and in your clients' posts and so on and so forth. And so that's a pretty big important aspect when you're dealing with different target audiences, I believe. Correct?
Well, yeah, you want to involve your community of people. And like you'll notice, I don't post a lot of articles. Usually I'll summarize them myself for them
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
include the link if they want to. But I'm not going to just click in if you post an article 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually try to give them something from it. If it's exceptionally long, I won't even usually post it. I'll pick out some bits and pieces that I feel are important and let them know, I found this. Here's what I think is important for you to know.
Yeah.
And as far as getting them involved, it is great. But it's funny you mentioned that because what I've been finding is if you ask them something specific, maybe like, yeah, what's your Memorial Day plans? They'll have an answer. But I've been messing around a little bit with asking things sort of in two different ways, in a positive way and then in a negative way. and the negative one always
Right.
gets more response, which part of it's what we're raised with, but part of it is someone gave me a really good answer when we were talking about it. And they said, if you don't like something, it really sticks with you, right? You know what you don't like. You can answer
Right.
that so fast. I don't like
Hmm.
A, B, and C because it's happened and it was horrible. But then when you start to ask people what they actually like, they go, well, I don't know. I think I kind of like this, but I know what I don't like. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's really interesting because I think I know what you're talking about. So Crystal put a post on her profile on her business page, and it was asking about what is when you're doing your marketing planning, what do you least like? What about you know what task do you find? I think you said something along the lines of like the most daunting or the most time consuming or the one that you
You
struggle the
hate the
most with.
most.
Yeah, the
Yep.
one that you struggle. Yep, here it is. It's what is the thing you dislike doing the most to help your business grow? And the choices were social media, bookkeeping, website design and maintenance, hiring, customer service, answering calls and messages, finding the clients, or networking. And it was interesting because it seemed like well, I know at least for me personally in what I do, like most of those I pretty much don't have an issue with except for, and it was number 3, which is web design and maintenance. And just again the response and just the promptness of that response, it was interesting like you mentioned, because when you ask people what they don't like, they're quick to respond, oh, I don't like this or this or this. But then when you ask them what they did like, they would answer, but they might not have answered right away.
Well, they didn't get many at all. So that post was based off of a little experiment I did a few weeks ago. And I
Mm-hmm.
basically asked, I'd have to pull it up to get my exact words, but I basically asked sort of the same thing, more or less, but in two different ways. One was sort of the negative aspect of the what do you dislike part, and one was
Mm-hmm.
the what do you like part of something
Right.
specific. And so I posted it, and the amount of responses I got on this sort of negative toned one, which is not
Yeah.
a negative thing. We just, like I said, we know what we don't like, got
Right.
tons of responses. And
Mm-hmm.
then I posted the next one. I didn't really get much of anything. So the
Right.
third day I posted, I said, hey, here's what I just did. And very interesting. I posted in the same places, roughly the same time of day. You know, I didn't get much. And so many people went, I didn't even see your positive post. I said,
Mm-hmm.
I know you didn't because no one answered. So it fell down real fast. It just dropped right off, right? The
Yeah.
negative one, everyone responded. So it was like a top post everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I said, of course you didn't see it. No
Right.
one had anything positive to say, which was very interesting. So then I thought, well, I do want to know about their marketing and kind of what they like, but I figured asking what they dislike is going to be
Mm-hmm.
easier after that little experiment there, which it was. That one got another great response, and you get your info, but it's interesting how different the response is just based on how you word it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And then also, yeah, like you were saying, like it seemed to just skyrocket, and it seemed to make the top of
Mhm.
the page feed because people, like you said, people know what they don't like, and it seems like they're quick to answer that. So there has to be some sort of, I would think, some sort of psychology behind that,
Yeah,
which,
we'll bring in a psychologist for our next one
yeah,
because they can
I was
tell
going to
us.
say I am not
Because
certified, nor do I
no,
play. I am not certified, nor do I pretend to play a psychologist on
no,
TV. I'm sure
nope.
the same applies for you, but yeah, actually, that would be interesting. That would be something
Uh-huh.
to maybe think about. And so, real quickly, just so that people can see it, because we are doing this video thing. So if we share what we're talking about here, I actually have it pulled up here. So this is the post that we're referring to. So as you can see, the questions right there, clear and concise. What is the thing you dislike the most? Helping, or that will help grow your business. And then there's the list of the options. And like I said, it seemed like number 3 seemed to be the biggest one. Um, I know, just because, at least for me personally, the
Mhm.
whole website design is so, it can be so daunting. It can be so tedious, and I'm one of those individuals where I like to see, I like to see the final product. And yes, I could help build it and all that. And I mean, it's definitely something that I have done in the past, and I do currently. but isn't necessarily, on my top three favorite things to do. No, it's not. As I even said to Crystal, I have a very love-hate relationship with it. Now, and then I know you, on the other hand, you love building websites. You
Yeah,
love
it's like my
designing
favorite
them.
thing. Yes,
And
I do.
I know, for those that maybe, you know, haven't figured out, or maybe didn't get a chance to hear before, uh you look at it like a video game, you said, because it's kind of like this. You have this mission, you have this task, and then to get to the end goal, you have to go through these different courses, you have to go through these different quests, so to speak. But the quest being, okay, the design, how is this template going to fit? Does it fit the persona of the business owner? So if you want to explain a little bit more about that process and why it appeals to you a lot.
Yeah, well, I've always been like a hands-on learner, and I like before and after stuff a lot. So yeah, it's sort of like the beginning levels are easier. You get to sit down with somebody kind of like this and talk to them, hear all about their goals, their business, everything. That's the easy level. You start to kind of find their voice. Then it gets a little harder. Now you've got to put what you know about the design of the website with what they want and try to kind of come to a middle ground. And then from there it gets a little harder because now you got to start implementing these design choices and make them happy, still make sure that you're doing right by them as well, up till the very end where they finally approve things. But now you've got to get it mobile friendly. You've got to test all the links, test all the buttons, until you have this beautiful finished product. It feels like you went from the beginning all the way to the end and conquered it. And just when you're done, it's like this great success for both of you. Like you just leveled up, and beat it. And then
Yeah,
you get to start all over with the next website.
that's awesome. I still love that analogy and that comparison. I really do. Take it from someone that used to be a big video gamer, back in his youth. Yeah, I can fully appreciate that. And even, not since the core topic of discussion is demographics, do you find certain, uh, you know, not necessarily male or female, or maybe even like someone like me. I know, as a millennial, yes, I did throw that term out there. I am a millennial. Deal with it, people. It's okay. I'm one of the good ones, I swear.
Right.
The is there Do you find that certain, again, demographics and certain clients, maybe they're looking for a particular design that might be different than someone else that might find something maybe a little bit more simplistic? Do you find that others might like some more, as I call them, the bells and whistles on their websites? Have you had a lot of that, that contrast, that compare and contrast, as far as like different projects that you've worked on?
Oh yeah, well a lot of it's industry specific and a lot of it's individual specific, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
their own taste. So I try to go a lot on, because I have my own taste too, right? And what I think looks good isn't necessarily going to be what they think looks good. So we try to
Mm-hmm.
go with industry specifics, which helps a lot. We try to find, sort of what's popular, what's performing well, what's doing well in their industry as sort of like a go-to. So it's not so much, you know, what's in my brain is the right answer. That's not it. It's more of, what's going to appeal to your audience in your industry. Because yeah, some industries need or maybe want or like a lot of bells and whistles. Just like on social media, I'm sure each industry you work with is different. What
Mm-hmm.
flies on one doesn't fly on another. One audience loves jokes and memes and weird things like that, where another one, they're too serious. It's a serious kind of business, maybe in financial, right? You can't do
Yeah.
that. So the
Yeah.
same thing kind of goes with the websites. It's going to have a lot to do with what they're selling, product or service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's another great point to bring up. It's look at the industry that you're working with.
Yeah.
So one of the accounts that I have is they're a commercial cleaning company, Tedesco Building Services Inc. Go look them up. And their stuff is, I try to keep it a little bit. I try to keep it a little lighthearted, a little friendly, but like I don't like insert jokes or memes or anything like that.
Right.
That's just not what they're looking for. Um, And so, I try to make the post and the topics very relevant. So the biggest thing still is disinfecting services, especially now that the world is starting to reopen a little bit more, and people are going back to the office, going back to work. It's time for those commercial buildings to look into that service. So my job, as I'm sure you understand, doing we do the same thing, is making sure that keep we keep that relevant, we keep that persistent to the audience, so then that way they can you know they can see it and they can go, oh, okay, yeah, I really should probably do that, and again, catering to your audience, catering to what you're looking for. They're catering to obviously commercial buildings, offices, even hospitals and operating rooms. They do that. So it's just like you said, it's finding and figuring out that audience, that niche, where you can go with it, where you can't go with it as well, I think is important too.
Right, and that's what sort of inspired the demographics posts. I mean, it's giving people just a little extra info because everyone wants the short answer. Well, what do I do for social media? Like just a blanket statement. What time do I post? What do I post? But it doesn't work like that. It really depends on the industry you're in, depends on your audience, for your time of day,
Mm-hmm.
for what you're posting. So those demographics give them a little insight. And those demographics change all the time, right? Like what's good this year isn't going to last you the next 3 years, obviously. So it's
Mm-hmm.
good to repost that stuff because you know, it's constantly changing all the time.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, for sure. It's constantly changing. Even talking about the change and what will be for the future, especially when it comes to social media. Um, it was interesting. I actually had a conversation with. Well, it was so my brother had he had a virtual graduation party yesterday, and so there were these like cards that were made, and it was like we like the whole family, we did like a virtual like game with everyone, and it was about him. And one of the questions on the card, it was pick one or the other. And it was which would he prefer, or which do you think he would prefer? One was Facebook and the other was Instagram. And so I picked Facebook because he does have a profile. He doesn't really go on it, but he has one, but he doesn't have an Instagram. So I figured, well, he's got to be on Facebook. Well, comes to find out, he chose Instagram. I'm like, why? And he's just like, well, he's like, it's pictures, and like, yeah, I don't have an account, but it is nice to see the pictures. And I thought that was really interesting because he's Generation Z, so he's the generation after mine. So he's the generation, and when you think about it, going back to the core again of what we're talking about, is demographic audience, is his era and his generation. They grew up knowing technology, from a
Right.
very early age. Tablets, like the iPads, were in full swing at that point. So, I mean, they grew up looking at a screen in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Unlike with like the millennial generation, in especially in the tier of mine, so like 30 something millennials,
Hmm.
you know, we knew technology and we grew up with it, but we also saw it in its infancy stages. We started to see some of the first desktop computers. I remember getting Windows 95. Yeah, that's right, I threw
Right.
that out there.
Right.
um but it's interesting because that, compared to a generation after, like my brother's generation, it's just very interesting to see and get that perspective. And I'm sure you got little ones. I'm sure they know technology, I'm sure already.
Oh, too much sometimes. I had to explain to them that you have to push the button on the soap in the bathroom because they thought they were all automatic. I had never seen one. You had to push yourself before. And so when that happened, I went, oh, for the love of God, they don't even, I mean, they're little, but they don't
Yeah,
know. Everyone we'd ever been to, just
right.
you stick your hand under, soap comes out. And they're sitting there waiting. It's out of soap. And I went, oh, Lord, no, no, it's not. And then they were fast. I said, see that button? They went, wow, I didn't know that. And I was like, oh boy. Oh
I
boy.
love it. I love it. I love it. But
Oh
again, that's
man.
the beauty of, the beauty of an audience and knowing your audience, because let's be real here and honest. My brother, and your kids, like that's the future. Like that
Hmm.
is the future. So it's
Yeah.
important. It's important to think about that too, because right now everybody says that Facebook is the all, as you said, it cross posts very easily.
Yeah.
It can be, but at some point, you know, Facebook could become obsolete. It could, especially with, right now we pretty much have a demographic of, it's baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials. So like, you get a mix.
Oh yeah.
But then, once, the baby boomers and even the generation after that, they don't use it anymore, then it's like, where does it go from there? So that's one of the things that, especially with what we both do, I know we both look at it that as, it's a little exciting, but it's also a little like, oh, like we gotta, like, stay up, stay in our game and make sure that, we're just adapting with the times.
Yeah, you have to keep up with it for sure. What's good one year is not good the next year. It changes fast. And I love this was not my description, but somebody once described LinkedIn to me as the crazy uncle. Like they're trying really hard to be cool and keep up with the kids, but they're struggling. And I thought, God, that's so perfect because LinkedIn is so great for what it is for the networking and
Oh
stuff like
yeah,
that.
for
But
sure.
like they just got videos right for pages now and stuff
Hmm.
like that. Like they just released that. I remember it was in beta testing like end of last year.
Hmm.
So they're trying really hard. Their statistics and stuff, their analytics, when you run things, they don't cross over as well as Facebook's, where Facebook's are all inclusive. LinkedIn, you have to
Yeah.
track down individual groups and things if you really want to see. So I just thought it was a very fitting description of
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
That that is a very interesting description. Because yeah, a point that you brought up, LinkedIn, yeah, it seems like LinkedIn, they're trying to like be like cool and hip, and it's just, I don't know. Part of me, I get what they're trying to do, but at the same time, it's like, you do realize that your platform is really primarily for building your network, building your business, online business profile. And when I say online business, I don't mean strictly on, like, your business is
Mhm.
strictly online. I just mean, you know, if you have a business, no matter what industry, you put it on there, you make a profile, you put yourself on there, upload, basically you upload your resume, it's definitely the 21st century's way of, resume building and really growing your network, and making new business connections. And I know I can probably tell you there's been a lot of people that have reached out, on LinkedIn saying, hey, I saw what you did. um, I'm a app designer. Maybe there could be some, let's talk. Or I'm sure you get all the time, the same thing, like, hey, Crystal, like, I see you do web design, and I do coding. Let's talk. Or let's meet. Let's have a conversation.
Well,
You
yeah,
know.
LinkedIn's the crowd that's there, that they're there for networking, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the equivalent of a giant online networking event. That's what they're there for. They want to meet people. There's
Yep.
always conversations going on, which is a little different than some of the other ones. And you're not going to get the conversations that are, maybe some of the shorter responses and stuff you might see on Instagram. They're there to build that network, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. And I don't even think it's bad that they're trying to get up to date with some of the stuff, but it's a struggle to watch sometimes and a struggle to deal with and explain to clients why. Well, why isn't this working? It works like this on Facebook. Well, because it's not
Yeah,
Facebook.
it's not
It's a
Facebook.
different platform. It's for a different reason. They're trying to get some
Mm-hmm.
of the newer things, which is great. God willing, they get their analytics to do what Facebook's do, and that would be amazing. A lot less
Yeah.
tracking and chasing for people. But no, it's good for what it is. They're each good for their own different sort of networking and audiences, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. So something to, another question I have for you is, so right now, like I said, I've noticed, like, you've been talking about demographics. Is there, you know, for the next, well, let's just say for the next month or so, like, is there a particular goal? Is there a particular objective you want to achieve when it comes to, maybe trying to, build and grow your own uh, demographic, uh, you know, uh, goals and what have you? Is there a different is there a certain audience you want to reach out to more? Is there a current audience that you're hoping to maybe capitalize on and get to know more of? What are we thinking?
Yeah, well, my main goal with that is to inform the entire audience, right? Because there are a lot of different businesses, and it's everyone doesn't have the time to go look that stuff up. And since that's what I'm already doing anyway, as you know, why not share it with people and help them get informed? For me, though, I've always focused a lot on service industry. Really, I mean,
Okay.
whether it's selling online products or particularly the smaller businesses that are still building and growing, maybe even growing rapidly, right? That do, when I say service industry, think cleaning, right? You brought up commercial cleaning. Think carpet cleaning. Think they're out there doing stuff, and often until they get big enough, they're sometimes doing a lot more than they should be, right? They're busy working in their business instead of on it. And even when they're busy working on it, there's just so many aspects to run a small business like that. For me, having something like the chatbot to offer them is a huge help. It's something that can really help them. It can help them be more efficient. It can help them keep their customers and potential new customers a lot happier. So for me, that type of industry is great for what I do offer. And I see some of them who do well and really love social media, but for the most part, they're busy and they don't have time for that either. I'm sure you know. They're not doing social media. They're not doing their websites. They're not doing their, they're not answering those messages, which is where the chatbot comes in handy. Or even for, I know you and I talked about some of the more complex ones. People have sort of set them, where you can do like a recurring thing. It comes up every day to your subscribers, or anyone says, hey, we're going to play this trivia game, whatever it's about. Maybe it's about cleaning. How much do you know about cleaning? But it keeps their audience engaged. So having a tool like that to offer them is really something that's beneficial. I think you said it last time. It's not an answering machine for your social media, and it's really not. It is not.
Correct. It's a personalized greeting is what it is. It's a very personalized greeting, and the way that you structure it, the way that you build it, you make it so that it does sound right away. It sounds like that it's that person, it's the business owner or the business owner's voice talking.
Right. So they're answering, they're getting their answers, they're getting their informative, their sales funnels, their marketing. There's so many things rolled into one. You just have to choose how you want to use them. But it's a tool that so many people can use, especially when they're busy, because every time you don't answer someone, that's a lead lost. That's a potential lead lost. Nobody wants that. Yep.
No, you don't want that.
No.
None of us want that. None of us want that.
No. And this is a great solution to that problem. It really is.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So again, I think, to, maybe wrap it up here in just a bit, just again, audience, know your audience, know who your demographic is, who they are. And when I say know them, don't just look at the stats and don't look at the reports and analytics and go, okay, that's it. I know. No, do you really know though? Do you know what they like? You know what their interests are, and sure, you can look at the stats and you can look at the numbers and you can go off of that, which okay, but in order, and again, I think this is why we work so well and understand each other so well. It's not just about looking at the graphs. It's not just about looking at the reports. It's about reading, and it's about looking into who that audience is.
Yeah, it's personal, right? Your audience has their own personal things, no matter what. And it's like you said, getting them involved, being responsive, letting them know you're there makes a huge difference in how they're going to then respond to you and your service or products. Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's not on a graph. That is not on a graph.
Not on a graph. And no. I've seen this happen one too many times, where, And I'm not gonna lie, when I first started out, I was just as guilty of it too. Of just looking at, okay, this is what works, and so yeah, let's go. Not really taking the time to really understand. Again. So, and again, that just took learning experiences and learning curves, and now it's I'm much more attentive to that, and I make sure that even something as simple as someone comments on something on a post, even just liking it, that shows, hey, they saw it, shows that they care. And if there's a comment that you like, or that seems to resonate well, go ahead and answer them. Answer that comment. Give a positive response to that, because people like that. And again, that's knowing your audience, that's interacting with your demographic, and
Right.
that's only going to help. That's only going to help your business and your clients. That you do that for.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think that's a good note to end on right
There
there.
we go.
So as always, you can find Crystal on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Her page is at Crystal's Cubicle, where both of the C's are capitalized at the beginning of each word. And then you can also find her on the gram. You can find her. Her username is Tech Mom to the Rescue, and I still think that's a really cool.
It's very accurate.
It's
That is my
very
life.
accurate.
Yep.
That's you. LinkedIn, you can find Crystal. You can look up her LinkedIn profile. She's very active on there as well. Just posting and interacting with the audience, making sure that questions are answered, or you're leaving a nice emoji, or heart, whatever the case may be. And then also you can, if you really are looking to be ambitious, which I know you are, go to crystalscubicle.com. All right. And you can look up everything that she does, the services she offers. And you will get an immediate response, and you'll get a response that is very, very personable and very friendly, which again, and especially in this industry, is extremely important. Having a personality and being personable
Yeah.
does go a long way. People do remember that. So kudos to you, Crystal. So
Oh, thanks again. Always
no,
fun.
thank
Always fun
you.
every time.
Thank you. So again, I'm Walter Hooper, owner of WA Hooper Social Media Management. And as always, we will see you next time.